Hi guys, in this lesson I'm going to talk about how you can make even more melodies with arpeggios by using the scale that you find the arpeggio in. I already made quite a few lessons on how you can improvise on common progressions just using the arpeggios and just using the basic chord notes of the harmony that you're playing over. I'll link to some of the lessons here. But in this lesson I'm gonna take this approach a bit further, because now we can work with just playing with the chord tones. Maybe we can also look at if we take the surrounding notes in the scale, because every arpeggio is of course found in the environment of some sort of key or scale, and how we can start to incorporate that, and also talk a little bit about how you can work on taking an arpeggio and making melodies with it. So that's what we're going to go over. What I decided to do was to just do one chord. So I took a G7 in the key of C major, just to keep it really simple. So one octave of scale would be this, and the arpeggio in one octave would be this. So that's what I'm going to work with. I'm just going to take those four notes and that one octave of scale, which is then three more notes than the arpeggio, and just check out what kind of melodies can we make, and talk a little bit about that and give you some ideas and some exercises. In this lesson I also made a short, very simple backing track that I'm using as an accompaniment for my examples. If you want to, you can download that. I'll link to it in the description of the video, and you can get it there if you want to use that for practicing. It's fairly simple. It's just going to be like 1 minute of a G7 ramp. So the first thing you want to check out with the arpeggio itself is just that you can actually play it. So in this case, since we have this arpeggio, well, you need to be able to play the arpeggio, and probably you want to play it descending as well. And then another good exercise is to play it in what you might call thirds, so just skipping notes, so you get, and of course down again, or a pattern like this. So in that way we already have 8 different melodies that we can use when we're playing the arpeggio, and the only other thing you probably want to really get used to is maybe starting on each note of the arpeggio, so that you have that all covered also, because you want to not always start on the root, and you also don't want to always play the whole arpeggio, even though that's kind of what we're doing in this beginning exercise. The next example is if we start to add some notes in between the notes of the arpeggio, because if we look at the scale, then of course the notes that we have are placed in between. In fact, in this case it's an A minor triad placed in between the notes of the arpeggio. So if I add the A between the G and the B, you will get. If I add the C between the B and the D, I will get. And if I add the E between the D and the F, then I will get this. So those are the places that we, within this small area, can add notes and work with that. And of course, this is not the kind of thing that you need to check out thoroughly for all your arpeggios in all positions and all octaves and all inversions and all that, because that's going to take you 10 years to check out. I think it's the kind of thing you want to work on. Pick one place, work on it, and see if it doesn't have an influence on the ideas you get, because what you're trying to work on here is actually your ability to work with the arpeggios that you already know, and to see them in a context. Not so much that it is that you have to fabricate some lines that you have to move around in all positions and all keys and stuff like that. In general, you don't really want to do that all too much, except for scale exercises probably. So the first thing I'm going to do is just going to give you an example of how you might play a 4-bar solo just using the arpeggio. So quickly, just to talk a little bit about what I'm doing in this example, because of course it's really simple. I'm just playing over a G7 and I'm just using the G7 arpeggio. What you might notice is that I'm using rhythm a lot. That's something that of course, it goes without saying, you need to do that really as much as you can. So I'm not just endlessly playing 8 notes, because that's not very efficient, especially not when you're limited to so few notes. Another thing is that I'm skipping around. I'm not starting on the root. So most of the phrases are actually starting on one of the other notes. I think the first one's on the third, then the next one is starting on the third again, and then you get the fifth, and the last one's also on the third. One other thing that's worth mentioning is that you can repeat notes, something that really a lot of people don't do. So the phrase that's the fact that you just have one note there for a bit is actually something that you can make quite some interesting melodic ideas with. I think too many people think in terms of playing all the notes instead of looking at how much can you do with one note. It's kind of a cliche actually to say that, but I think it is really true, especially in jazz and especially in bebop stuff, or bop inspired jazz anyway. Let's look at the next example where I'm adding an E between the D and the F in the arpeggio, and then trying to make some melodies with that and exploring that a bit. In the example where I'm now adding this E, so I have 5 notes, I think this time around I'm not even going too far with it, and I'm still using the E as a sort of a diatonic passing note and not really letting it stand on itself. But even with this simple approach, I'm still using motifs, I'm still taking stuff that's moving on top of the beat, and there's a lot of rhythmical things that you can do. For instance, the phrase that goes... so that's a better phrasing. You could look at that as being this motif and then a development of that motif that is repeating that but leaving out the first note. Similar thing would be the next one, which goes, which is of course a 3-note pattern that's repeating on top of the beat, which also means that it's shifted an 8 note, and in that way creating some rhythmical tension that you can then resolve. So things like this you can develop really well by just limiting yourself to fewer notes. And also, I think if you keep this in mind a bit, it's not the kind of thing that you want to work on again systematically or on all your songs or something. Just pick it out and work a bit with it, just to see if you can get some new ideas, if you find a new way to make some new lines, and then you can always look later if you can move it to other chords, or if you can try and use it in other contexts. I think this way of not trying to approach it systematically but more develop the ability to create good melodies is something that's very useful for learning how to improvise, because in the end you want to not be good at only be good at writing licks, you want to be good at coming up with them while you're playing, or at least making interesting licks out of the lines that you already know. Let's look at the last example where I'm trying to use the whole scale in the whole octave. The last example is using, of course, the whole scale, and the 4 small phrases that I'm using, just to go over. The first one is just the G major triad, in fact, with the added C in there. So I'm starting on the 5th. Again, I'm not starting on the root, I'm not playing the... And I'm actually, I think in almost none of the places in this in these examples am I playing this. I'm always mixing up the notes a bit, trying to come up with new melodies, and I think that's an important part of working on this. The next phrase is, which is first adding the A in between the G and the B, and then this kind of pattern in the arpeggio. The next phrase is this, which is adding the E between the D and the F, and then I'm playing this, which to me anyway is sort of a cliche blues phrase for people who play Mixolydian on blues. But yeah, I'm not really sure where I have that from, but that's at least my association with it. The last phrase is more like a, actually with like all the other ones, I'm really trying to end on the G to give the idea that the 4 bars is like have an ending. And it's just running up the scale from the B to the D and then down from the B via the A to the G to end. That was some examples of how you can start placing the arpeggios that you already know, that you might have checked out, within the context of a scale. I think this is an important thing to be able to do, because of course you want to work on playing the harmony and playing just with the arpeggios and making the chords clear that you're playing on, but it's also useful to really have them connected in the sense that they're all belonging to one scale or another, because most pieces are in one key, and there will be several chords that are in the same key, and you might as well see them sort of in the framework of that scale fingering or key, or have a sort of common understanding of where they are sitting in this tonality. You'll notice that my examples are really trying to emphasize the harmony still, so I'm still trying to really put the chord notes on the beat and make it clear that it's a G7 that I'm making lines on, and I think you want to keep that aspect of it. You can't really start emphasizing the notes that you're putting in between, because you might lose the sense of what is going on. So at least in the beginning you want to not emphasize the extensions but more the basic notes in the chord. I hope that you can use the stuff that I went over here to make some lines and to get some new ideas for developing lines with the arpeggios you already checked out. If you've never seen any of my videos before, then you can of course subscribe to my channel. I make a video every Thursday, and there are always new lessons coming, and I've also been doing this for quite some time, actually more than 1.5 years, so I already made quite a few lessons, and there's a lot of stuff you can check out. If you have any comments or suggestions for topics or things I should do differently or that I should do lessons on, then please let me know. You can comment on the video, or you can connect with me on Google Plus or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and let me know there. It's always nice to hear feedback from you guys and to hear what you guys want to hear lessons on, so please let me know. If you want to download a PDF of the examples I went over here, then you can go to my website. There's a PDF download in that article that's accompanying this lesson, and you can also subscribe to my newsletter on my website if you want to stay up to date with other stuff that's happening, if I'm touring, or if albums are coming out or being recorded, music is being written, and also if I put stuff up in my web shop. I have some lessons for sale in my web shop, so you can also follow that with my newsletter. If you want to download the backing track that I used for the examples, then you can of course do that. I have a link in the description of this video, and you can get it there. If you record yourself using it, then you can post this on Instagram or YouTube or something, and if you want me to comment on it or give you some feedback, then let me know. You can always share it and tag me in it. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.